Well, welcome to another episode of Trap Talk. Today, we have the pleasure of having Jason Nash here, who is the VP of Marketing at Vista Outdoors Remington. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thanks for having me, Zach. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have an industry speaker. Normally, we're talking with shooters, guys like me that go out and travel around. You are also a shooter, but you work in the industry. How long have you been affiliated with Vista? And kind of tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I've been in the basic role that I'm in now for almost 20 years. So it's been a great career. I started with Federal Ammunition, and now that Remington and Federal are part of the same family, I got the pleasure of working on one of my favorite brands in Remington.
That's awesome. So, as I understand it, you primarily shoot more sporting clays. Is that your background when you go out and shoot?
Yeah, I grew up chasing grouse in the North Woods of Minnesota and shooting pheasants. And for me, clay targets were a way to train for that. But I've gotten hooked on competitive sporting clays over the last few years. So definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, I when I went down to San Antonio for Sporting Clays Nationals the first time ever, I seen you out there, and I'm like, hey, he goes to trap shoots, he goes to Sporting Clays, he's giving love to everywhere, so that's awesome.
Yeah, no, we definitely practice what we preach here.
Yeah, and obviously a great product. That being said, I had a couple questions from the listeners they shot in. One of the questions that they wanted to know was, is there anything new on the horizon? You being the marketing guy, obviously, I know there's some things you can't share, but is there anything that people should be on the lookout for that's exciting at either Remington or Federal?
Yeah, I think you represent very well Team Remington, Zach, and we appreciate you being part of the squad. On the Remington side, really, it's bringing out more of the product that people love. We're always going to look for new innovations and materials and different load specs depending on what's hot. But for now, we're just focused on making sure we're making more of the Nitro 27s and the STSs that people love.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing those hit the shelves a little bit more. I know during that COVID-19 and kind of the things that were going on, it was definitely hard to get supply there for a little while, but things are seeming to loosen up. Is there anything you could elaborate on that too, as far as when supply and demand are going to be a little bit more leveled off, like the days pre-COVID, or any insights on that?
Yeah, I think what we've been really pleased with is how many new people have gotten into shooting. Zach, that Sporting Clays tournament, the Nationals we went to, had 400 new shooters participate, and that's high level competition. And you were one of them, right?
yeah, I was one of them. It was my first time, and anybody listening, obviously this is predominantly a trap podcast, but I enjoyed myself going and shooting Sporting Clays. And if you haven't done it, I would totally recommend doing it, because I'm a lover of all clay pigeon games, and I think just shooting shotguns in general is fun.
Yeah, and I mean, we're fortunate to have a lot more participants in the sport, which is a great thing for us all long term, for every discipline: trap, skeet, sporting clays. And the tough part about that was there was a lot of demand to serve, and we've been catching up slowly. Remington has gotten back to a better production level than it had been a couple of years ago. So we're definitely ramping up. It'll still be, a little tough to find them for a while, but we're confident that we're going to be able to get the product people need on the shelves relatively soon.
Yeah, Big Green is back, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. So it's great to hear that things are going to start trickling in, obviously, and the quality is uncompromised. We've seen that through shooting the products through Nitro and SDS, obviously. For you, just kind of getting a little personal, where do you enjoy shooting the most? Is there any clubs in the country that you've been to that you really love, or any places that you love to travel to?
Well, I'll tell you what, Lone Oak, Arkansas, where the Remington factory is, I was actually there last week, has put in a brand new sporting clays course there. Oh. So, a lot of the employees, and it's open to the public. So people have been really enjoying that. And they also have trap and skeet there. So all disciplines represented there. It's a really nice little club for people in the area. to come by and visit and shoot. So when I'm there, I like to try to get a few rounds in, if work allows. And then, I've got some clubs here in Minnesota where I'm from, where I shoot, but it's always great to shoot down in San Antonio too, or Sparta. I mean,
Yeah.
those places are incredible. It's Sparta, walking up and down those fields, seeing all those trap fields is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I gravitate to Sparta because of how large it is. Just seeing all the vendors, and I think the coolest part of Sparta is the vendor buildings. When you go down and you can see Federal, you can see Remington, you can see White Flyer and all these other companies that every year you're using their products, and then you can go in and get hats, get pins and stuff. And if you haven't been, that's my preference for trap shooters. But San Antonio is beautiful. I haven't been to the Lone Oak facility yet. So one of these days I'm going to have to get down there and shoot some sporting clays with you, and maybe some trap, and check it out a little bit more. Maybe we can shoot some videos and stuff. But I've heard great things out of Lone Oak for sure.
Yeah, great people, great facility, and really fantastic product. The other thing is, high school trap has gotten to be such a big sport. Especially here in Minnesota. Alexandria, Minnesota hosts the state shoot every year for the Minnesota high school. And I mean, I think they got 9,000 shooters this year.
Wow.
I mean, it's an incredible turnout, and
That's
really
huge.
fun to see young people taking an interest in trap shooting. And I know that's not just here, it's across the nation.
Well, that's huge. And that's a lot of what we talked about this last episode with Sean Hawley. We talked about the youth programs and how that's growing the base of the sport. And, obviously I haven't been, in the sport as long as those guys, but it's been 18, 20 years now for me. And when I started, I was a junior, sub-junior, and you got into it. And, thank you guys for supporting me back then. But then you hit a certain age where you're like, I got to get a job, and you got to, go into the real world, and you try to stay in it as much as possible. But I really feel that SCTP and that aim is bringing those people back when they're in their 30s and their 40s, once they've settled into those careers and they've got themselves a little bit together, they can get back into the sport that we all love.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the key is, we see a lot of kids who shoot trap during high school don't necessarily come back because they get busy. But yeah, those programs are doing a great job. And, we're trying to make sure that through what we do in our communications, our marketing, that we encourage people to get back out there and pick up their shotguns again.
How has that shifted for you over the last 20 years from a marketing standpoint? I mean, obviously back in the day, it was a lot of magazine articles and things like that, I would assume. But now, with social media, with podcasts, with all that stuff going on, tell me like a day in the life of your job and how that shifted.
Yeah, it's really interesting that for our industry, obviously digitals and socials had a big impact, but magazines are still the number 2 resource for people to get their information on hunting and shooting.
Wow.
So when we look at, our advertising mix and where we put our products, it's still really important for us to be in those magazines, and part of it is we can't advertise on, national networks, or we can't take out Super Bowl ads because of the kind of product we make.
Yeah.
It's a restricted category. So people are seeking information on our products and on our sports. So that's why the very specific magazines about what we do are so important to be in.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I can't believe that number's second. Like it's amazing to me now, because everything's really transitioned a lot, at least for people in my age group. But that makes a lot of sense. Do you have a lot of data as far as like target age of shooters and trap shooting versus sporting clays, or do they share that stuff with you when you find it, or is it just kind of scattered across the board?
Yeah, all the magazines do a pretty good job of providing you with information on who reads their publication. They do surveys and publish data on the some of the demographics of who's picking up their books. But that said, number 1 is digital and social. Yeah. So we've got a whole team that focuses on social media and making sure that we're present and providing good information for people on new products, on what's happening with Team Remington, who's shooting where and how they're doing, and really trying to stay you know, involved in people's shooting careers and lives.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge shift from even the experience that I had. I call it what, 10, 12 years ago when I was first put on the team. It was another regime of different people kind of running it. And it was before the Facebook, Instagram, internet sensation. And it's just the ability to write these articles out and let the people know who's shooting good and when and where within a couple of days of the event. I mean, I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, and really, we'll have to do a few of these with you, but shooting tips and things that help people become better and grow in their sport is really important. So we like to make sure that the people we have on our teams are sharing what they know and what they do best to help other people improve their games.
It's all about growing, right? I mean, everyone hits a certain spot and they're like, I want to get better. And how do you get better? And what I find is if you have some good information and some good quality products, it helps. It's one of those things where you've got to put the work in, but you can shorten that learning curve with the right, gun fit or the right shells or the right instruction. I mean, all of that stuff does matter in a big way, especially when you start moving up the echelon and start competing at a much higher level.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you can drive yourself nuts with different equipment and different things, but good technique is really what wins the day, right? Repetition and muscle memory.
100%. So you do quite a bit of traveling to shoots with your position. What's that look like?
Yeah, I go to a handful just to make sure we back here at the factory and the offices understand what's happening out there, and we're connected to the shooting community. So I went to Sparta, saw you there, went to National Sporting Clays, competed there, and really try to make sure that we get to our state shoots and some local events, and we sponsor a couple of Sporting Clays events here also. And down at Lone Oak, we've got a Shoot for the Cure that we hosted that raised money for cancer, which was great. So
a great cause. Thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely. It's important for us not only to give back to shooters and help with recruitment and developing shooters, but also to make sure that we're taking care of other people who need it.
Of course. I mean, that's, the one thing I could say out of this group of people that I've learned, and for anyone listening, is the quality of the people that you meet in the shooting world. People that would take their shirt off their back and give it to you and take care of you. I mean, I've made so many lifelong friends and so many connections that have helped in life. And I've never really seen that anywhere else as predominantly than in shooting. I mean, maybe, church relationships, I've had some of that, but even in shooting, it's like you can leave, 10 guns on the rack, all worth $20,000 and go away for lunch, and you come back and they're there and you're like, wow, what kind of people are we hanging out with, right?
Yeah, no, that is one of the great things. It's part of why people like me hang around in the industry for so long. I've been here 20 years. Know a lot of people who've been here longer than that, because you develop great relationships, and it's really a good cause and good people and great products.
And we appreciate that for sure. Now, we have a lot of young listeners, and I know a lot of people are wanting to learn and get into the industry and work in something they're passionate about. What advice would you have for young listeners that are either, in high school, going to college, that want to, do what you do someday? Where do you even start?
Yeah, well, I think if marketing in particular, or whatever position you want to be in, make sure you learn the craft first. Develop basic tools, go to school, learn about what makes a great marketer, what makes a good salesperson. Get trained in that first, so that you can bring more than just, hey, I like to shoot, to the table. The best people that I've found to work with in this industry are those who have got the really good base level skills and also have a strong interest in our sports and in our products.
So the interest is important, but the skills are equally as important, if not more important. And I think that's something that, a lot of people need to focus on. It's like I was told when I go to school, work really, really hard. And then you'll be able to continue to shoot and do all the things that you want to do with your education and your abilities versus, if you're just really passionate about it, but you don't have a means of quantifying that for a company, it's hard to get your foot in the door. Now, is Remington a place that does, or Vista a place that does like internships or things like that, or is it a situation where people would have to go start somewhere else and get a little bit of, education before they step through the door?
Yeah, we don't have internships in play now. I know we have done them historically, especially in our engineering team, because those are really highly skilled positions, and we definitely have gotten some great people to come in through our internship program there. So again, for listeners who are interested, check out our website, remington.com. Make sure you stay in tune with what's happening at other companies in the industry, and there are a lot of opportunities.
That's awesome to hear, because I feel like shooting sports are growing. I know there's a lot of people out there that say that shooting sports, the demographic is a little bit older and it's kind of dying off at some level, but I'm seeing this fresh wave of young people getting into the sport, like I said, that are starting to hit my age, where they were gone for 5 or 10 years and now they're getting into it. And if they have a kid, they're introducing their kid into the game, which is amazing. And I think that youth investment that you guys have made over these years supporting all of those programs, it's obviously showing tenfold, and it's creating an environment for us to have a lot of fun and be able to raise a family in the future. So we really, really appreciate that.
Well, and I think the coaches and the shooting community have done such a good job of training people to be safe, that trap shooting is one of the safest sports you can participate in. There've been documented data that shows that playing soccer, you get injured more often.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. And the thing that I really love too is the ability to stand out with the best shooter ever, even when you're new, or the females and males competing on the same level. And nowadays the females kicking butt, like just taking top trophy when they go out there almost every time, between all of the categories, junior, veteran, lady. I mean, you're dealing with a category shooter almost every day for event champion. So it's really cool to see that tight, compressed amount of talent in a bunch of different sectors.
That's a great point, Zach. It's a really accessible sport. People of all walks can participate and stand right in there with some of the best shooters in the country, in the world, and get a chance to see them shoot with them on a squad. It's that's unique. You don't get to go play golf with professionals.
No,
right?
You don't get to go play with Tiger Woods or go play
Right.
with Michael Jordan. But like when I was coming up, one of the most unique experiences that I remember as a kid is I got put on Sean Hawley's squad one time, and it was like, oh my God, this is, one of the greatest shotgun shooters of all time. And you hang on to that as a young person, and you're like, man, I want to put some work in and be like this someday. And you work on it, but I love the direction that it's heading. I'm really excited to hear all the great things that you guys are working towards. And I can see the results in what you're producing as far as the quality products and what our shooters are doing out there. So, we really want to give a big thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners today? Is there anything else in closing that you want to close with?
Just thank you for having me on, and it's always fun to talk shotgun sports, especially with somebody as passionate as you. And thanks for representing Remington. And if everybody just tune into our social channels and check out remington.com, and we're always offering deals on merchandise and introducing new products. And we've got some for anybody who's a hunter. There's exciting news coming after the first of the year. So
awesome. We'll be on the lookout. And obviously I would like to give a big thank you to all our sponsors, and thank you to Remington specifically for supporting our show and taking the time to educate the listeners on what's going on in the market. Jason, we'll probably end up doing another one of these shows one day, because I'm going to get a bunch of emails and questions for you. But we really appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Likewise. Thanks a lot, Zach.
Have a great day.
You too.